Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Coffee and Careers. We are very excited to have you and are featuring a really awesome program as usual. I have a couple great guests with me, and I will get to introducing them in just a few minutes here. But to start us off, I will introduce myself. I am Erica O'Toole. I'm an assistant director in the Career Development Center, and I am the liaison to our College of Education and Human Services, as well as our global campus students. I also oversee our First Impressions program and our outreach program, and I am very excited to be here. I host these coffee and careers every other week, and the ones with the departments are just so much fun. I think Jamie and I have been learning so much about these different programs, and today is no different. We have some really cool things to share with you today and some amazing equipment that you can see behind us as well. Well, not behind us, but behind Dr. Shay Dawson, which I'll introduce in just a second. But as we start off with every coffee and careers, I will talk about my coffee. So first of all, my mug, it says, but first coffee, because I mean, what could be more appropriate, right? Especially as a mom of a 2-year-old, everything is but first coffee. I have to have my caffeine in the morning or else I don't function well as a mom. So, and funny enough, my coffee is not actually in the mug. So since I'm on campus, I have my Starbucks, which is almost gone, but I have my iced coffee with almond milk today. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Jamie to introduce herself. And then we have Dr. Shay Dawson from our Therapeutic Recreation program today.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm a little jealous. I haven't had an iced coffee yet this spring, so it's time, right? My name is Jamie Story. I'm the Director of Student Services for the College of Education and Human Services. So I oversee the academic advising unit in the college, and I'm excited to learn more about therapeutic recreation today. And I have my coffee, and it is a regular coffee with some Italian sweet cream. So very classic. All right, and then I will turn it over to Dr. Shay Dawson to introduce himself.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Dr. Shay Dawson, and I'm an assistant professor in the College of Education and Human Services. I teach in the Therapeutic Recreation undergraduate degree, which we're going to talk about today, and I also am a part of teaching in the minor in disability studies and community inclusion. So I've been at Central Michigan University for 3 years, and prior to coming to Central, I worked at Bradford Woods, Indiana University's Outdoor Center as the director there, running pediatric medical camps, summer camps for kids with disabilities through Riley Children's Hospital. And I've really enjoyed coming to Central and getting into the classroom full time these last 3 years. I'm a big coffee drinker. My students know I usually always have either Ponder Coffee, which is sort of the local coffee shop in town that makes fantastic coffee, or Starbucks. So today I have Pike Place, Starbucks, and my coffee is not nearly as interesting as your coffees. Mine's just straight black Pike Place, no grills, but I certainly enjoy it and need it every day.
Nice. Well, at least you have coffee. That's what's important.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So a couple things before we get started here. The main purpose of these is to get your questions answered. So for any of you watching, please ask questions. I will filter those to, any of us that can answer the questions, but especially Shay, who is here to answer any questions about the Therapeutic Recreation Program. To get us started, though, where are you, Shay? Can you tell us a little bit about the adaptive equipment that you have? Because I'm super excited to learn about it.
Yeah, so we are in Finch Fieldhouse today. Finch Fieldhouse is the home of the Recreation Park and Leisure Service Administration Department, and that's the department that I'm a part of. Finch is a great building. It's a historic building. And we have a lot of space in here. So there's the field house, which is the old basketball arena, which you might be able to see on the picture behind us is actually in Finch Fieldhouse, and we were hosting an adaptive rugby clinic. So we have a lot of great gear. This is one of the classrooms that we use. I'm going to show you some of the gear that I brought in today. I think that one of the neat things about our program is just all the types of equipment that we teach you about, that we get to learn about and use with our clients with disabilities. Today I have mostly things that you would use with folks that have physical disabilities. And we're going to talk a little bit about where do recreational therapists end up working. And there's a variety of places, but today I'm showing you a variety of things that would be for clients that might have a spinal cord injury. They may have had a stroke or traumatic brain injury, folks that have cerebral palsy or spina bifida. And so the first thing I want to show you is this mono sit ski. So, we're in Michigan, it snows a lot in the winter. I've noticed since we've moved here 3 years ago, and we've gotten into skiing. And, if someone has a spinal cord injury or has a disability, they want to take part in these community activities. And I didn't know this, but Michigan has the second most ski resorts in the country by state. I think we have over 40. And so there's lots of opportunities for folks with disabilities to get out on the slopes. And so this is a monosit ski that a client may sit down in. We would transfer them out of their wheelchair into this, and they would sit in here. And it's a seat that's on top of the ski. And then you have sort of these, you usually have some outriggers, and you put your arms in here, and these actually have skis on them as well. And then when you get at the bottom and you need to push yourself, to the chair lift, you can use these. So pretty cool equipment, and we might teach students about this type of equipment in our facilitation class. We also have a class on physical disability. I also have, being that we're in Michigan and we have that influence of ice hockey, I have a sled hockey here chair. And same thing as the model sit ski, we're going to transfer someone out of their wheelchair, or they'll transfer themselves into this. You have the hockey skates on the bottom of this. You might be able to see. I'll bring it a little bit closer here. And you have folks that can actually play hockey. And sled hockey is a Paralympic sport. And so they can train at Paralympics facilities. And then they can play club sports as well. The clients would also use these. These are the hockey sticks, but on the bottom, you can see that they can use this and dig into the ice to move themselves from point A to point B when they're playing. It's actually, we do clinics, and we rented out the ice hockey arena, and we did a clinic last year, and the students found out really fast at how exhausting this is, and you have to be in really great shape to play sled hockey. So it gives you a newfound perspective. I also have a chair back here that would typically be used in track and field. If someone is going to kind of transfer out of their wheelchair and they could do the mile or 2 mile just like anybody else. Any sort of track event they can take part in. And some high schoolers are now actually a part of their track teams, and we're including folks in some of those sports, but also in Paralympic sports. And then the last thing I have, I'm going to take my glasses off for this, is I have a virtual reality headset. And this is a really cool different activity that you could use if you were in long-term care or working with older adults. And let's say that they've been in their room and in their bed and they haven't been out very much. We could take this and we could actually put this virtual reality headset on the older adult, and we could take them to all over the world. They could say, hey, I want to go to Paris, France. And with this headset on, we could take them to downtown Paris. Or if we were working in physical medicine and rehab, we could actually use this to help with the physical functioning of folks. These are sort of different things that we would hold. And they could actually throw a stick to a dog in, say, a park in New Zealand. And this is a pretty amazing thing that they can do. So that's the equipment that we have here. And we have a lot of other things as well, but these are just a few things I thought we might highlight today.
That's so awesome. And I love that you just showed that on camera. And I thought at the last minute to put it full screen. I wish I would have done it sooner. But what amazing equipment that you have, and so cool that we're able to show the students this, because I think they hear therapeutic recreation, but maybe they don't understand the full extent of what that truly means. So to be able to actually see the equipment and the adaptive use of everything, I think that really shows them what the major truly encompasses. So that is really neat.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have a different question, but now I want to ask a question about the equipment, if that's okay. I'm so fascinated by this. It's so cool. So if a student were to come in and let's say they're taking an introductory level class, how early on in the program might a student be introduced to some of this equipment to really kind of experience and see what it's like to work in therapeutic recreation? Is that okay that I ask that question?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our students will get an introduction to therapeutic recreation, which is also known as recreational therapy, in a 200 level class. So this is typically freshman, sophomore sort of level. They're getting introduced to all the different areas that you might work in, the different populations. And then as they move into that next set of classes, they're going to jump right into taking classes in focused on physical disability, where they might see some of these pieces of equipment. They'll get into a mental health class where we'll go over other things like stress management techniques and the use of journaling and animal-assisted therapy and things like that. And then as they move into their last year at CMU, they'll take a class on facilitation techniques where they'll learn about all this, but they'll also actually be facilitating to their peers. And as they move into sort of those 500 level classes, we get more and more involved. So really throughout the program, we use experiential learning, and they're able to do these types of courses, pretty much as a component of each course. Although we do lecture and we have a lot of material to get through, we are in experiential therapy, so we might as well experience and get into some of these activities as we get going. It reminds me, too, of two classes that are electives that you get to choose between one or the other. One is aquatic therapy, where the entire class is actually at the pool, and you're learning how to do aquatic therapy. The other class is called adventure therapy, and you're going out and you're learning how to do adventure therapy using grounds initiatives, low ropes, high ropes courses, and other outdoor activities that you might work with youth at risk or at camps and things like that. So those classes you can take at any time once you get into the major.
Yeah, that is so cool. I think knowing as a student coming in that you would get to start really experiencing these things and then having it scaffolded so that you kind of get more and more intense and more advanced as you go. That's just amazing. So I'm really, really excited about this. So sorry, I know I threw that question in there, but that's wonderful. So speaking of having it be a really experiential program, could you tell us more about this amazing study abroad opportunity for our therapeutic recreation students?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I love talking about the study abroad program. I'm pretty passionate about the program. So I've been running a study abroad program for about 5 years. When I was the director at Bradford Woods, Indiana University's Outdoor Center, I actually started taking students for about 3 years when I was at Indiana University. And when I came to CMU to teach full-time and kind of move into full-time teaching, the first course I wanted to start at Central Michigan University was this study abroad trip. So it's called Disability in Southeast Europe. And what we do is we take about 10 to 15 students per summer, and it's a faculty-led short-term trip. So it's 3 weeks long, and we fly over to Serbia and Croatia, Slovenia, the Romania area, and we visit different facilities that work with people with disabilities. So we might be in institutions that look something like an institution would in the 1950s in the United States. So we see that. And then we move to other programs that are really cutting edge programs, where one is called the Milan Petrovic Special Education and Rehabilitation School. And people come from all over Europe to see what they're doing there. And it's one of the more cutting edge programs. And we end up spending about a week and a half there. We help to volunteer at a camp, one of the first camps for people with disabilities in Serbia, and do a variety of other things. On the weekends, we do cultural experiences. So One year we went to Budapest, Hungary, which is an amazing European city, and we spent the entire weekend there together. So there's a couple things that students are learning. One, they're learning about programming for people with disabilities, the entire spectrum of programming. They're also comparing and contrasting the culture of the United States with the culture in sort of through the Balkan Peninsula, the former Yugoslavia. And they're also comparing and contrasting how people with disabilities are treated and worked with in that area of the country versus the United States. And we learn from the folks over there, and they learn from us. And it's a really rich experience. We have amazing partners that are really in the field of special education and rehabilitation, which is kind of like special education and occupational therapy and recreational therapy sort of mixed together. That's their profession over there. The thing that students, I think, will say the most is they learn a lot about themselves. You get to travel to 3, 4, 5 different countries that you probably would never go to on your own or think about going to, and it opens up your eyes to a different part of the world. So that's really neat. I also think students oftentimes comment that they've gotten to know their peers super well. So you come to Central and you might not know that many people, and you get into your major and you go on this trip for 3 weeks, and these students come back best friends, lifelong friends. It's amazing from day one till the last day just how comfortable everybody is with one another. And I noticed that when they come back as students, they know me super well. There's another faculty member that went on the trip last time with me as well. And they end up knowing Leanne really well. And it just makes a huge difference in the classroom with your peers and your faculty members. So it's my favorite class that I teach, and it's an amazing experience. And a lot of students are going on that trip and really excited that they did that. And what last thing I'll say about it, I could talk forever. I know we have time limit. That these students end up doing a lot of things after they come back for their internships. I notice these students tend to be, they end up going to places like Colorado, and they'll do an amazing internship there, or they might go down to Georgia or something like that because they've had this experience and they learn how to travel and become more independent. And so I think that's another benefit is they become leaders and adventurous along the way.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you said that it's like going to places that they might not ever go on their own, because and I love all our study abroad programs. I think they're all absolutely amazing. But some of the places you mentioned, I was thinking, wow, I don't hear of those places being for study abroad or thinking of those places for travel necessarily. And what a cool experience for our students to see, like you said, that in that spectrum of like going from maybe what we'd see in like the 1950s to extreme cutting edge. I mean, that is absolutely amazing for our students to see that wide variety, right, of their profession. And I think that is amazing. I know I studied abroad as a student, and you know, a lot of students will look at that and say, okay, well, it's definitely an added expense, but there's definitely scholarships, there's things out there to help you with that. And the experience you get is so invaluable that I am a huge advocate for study abroad. So I love that you added that in there, because that sounds like a phenomenal experience.
No, I wanted to say the same thing. I wish we had 30 more minutes just to talk about the study abroad now, because I'm like, I want to hear everything.
I know. I want to go.
I'm also a huge proponent of study abroad. I say this in every single time I talk to a student. It was my one biggest regret in my undergrad to not study abroad. And then I did it in my master's and my doctoral program, and life-changing, like you had said, like it really made me just feel more confident in myself. I was more independent. And then I got to know people in my program. And that's just little pieces. The bigger pieces was understanding like intercultural competence and how different the world is outside of Michigan. And so it's amazing. That sounds like a wonderful opportunity. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I actually studied abroad as an undergrad, as a kind of end of my freshman year, and I came from a really small town and had never really been out of the United States much. And it was by far, I always tell everybody, best class I have ever taken, undergrad, master's, or PhD, was the semester I studied abroad. I took 4 classes, and it was fantastic. And that's kind of why I became passionate about starting the program here. As a faculty-led study abroad, I think students feel really safe, and it's sort of this guided trip, which makes it really much more kind of approachable, I think, for students, which is nice.
Definitely. Okay, so I could talk about this all day too, because I love that idea. I'm going to skip over one of our questions just because I feel like we kind of already answered it. So, where can I work with a degree in therapeutic rec? I feel like there's so many things that we can do with this degree. So I want to hear from you. Where can we work with it?
Yeah, so recreational therapy is essentially using recreation and leisure as a therapeutic tool for people with disabilities or chronic illness. And so we're using things like you have looked at today, but you're also using things like equine assisted therapy or stress management or counseling people about their leisure lifestyle. So we work in a variety of settings. I think one of the benefits of becoming a nationally certified recreational therapist upon graduation is you could work with older adults in long-term care. It's one of the fastest growing populations in the United States. So, about over 30% of recreational therapists work in long-term care, either day programs or nursing homes, and they're doing recreational therapy and providing socialization and activities to people that are older adults in that geriatric setting. We also work in inpatient and outpatient physical medicine and rehab. So folks that have had a recent injury, they've had a stroke, they've had a traumatic brain injury or a spinal cord injury. They're working in those settings. A lot of our students end up interning at Detroit Med Center, for example, and they work at the Rehab Institute of Michigan. And they might be on a floor where everybody has a recent spinal cord injury, or they're working in an outpatient rehab facility with folks with traumatic brain injuries. The other area, which is a very large area, where recreational therapy is fully reimbursed through insurance, is on inpatient and outpatient psych units. So if someone gets admitted to a psych unit because of depression or anxiety or suicidal ideation, things like that, these are programs where there's very robust activity therapy departments within each of those outpatient and inpatient units. So that's part of my background, as I was a supervisor on a unit at Genesis Healthcare Systems, and there was a child and adolescent unit. So we had 5-year-olds to 18-year-olds in one unit, and then across the hallway we had another unit for adults 18 to 90 plus. And we ran groups and activities pretty much all day. And then the other area that a lot of people end up really enjoying is working in camps for kids with disabilities. I spent 12 years doing that. There's camps in all 50 states, and they run all summer long, and they might have 90 kids with cancer one week. Then the next week is 90 kids with physical disabilities. And that kind of repeats and goes through the entire summer. And similar to those programs are park and rec programs that want to include, say, mom has a child with autism, and they want that child to be included in the park and rec program in their community. We have recreational therapists that will serve as inclusion specialists and help them to get integrated into those programs. So it's a really broad field. I think that's one of the things people like about it a lot, is you can do a lot of different things and a lot of different settings that you might work in. And they're all really kind of fun groups of people to work with, and really diverse group of clients.
And it sounds like very rewarding work as well.
Yeah, definitely. Our students are very passionate people, and they want to make a difference, and they're really wanting their sort of career to be more than a job, more than a paycheck, if you will. And that's kind of why I ended up getting into the field as well, as I heard about it when I was a freshman at the end of my freshman year, right about when I studied abroad. And I've just been super passionate about it ever since.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's what I heard too, is throughout any of those locations or any of the populations that they might work with, it's a helping field. It's really making a difference in people's lives. And that, you're right, that has to be so rewarding. Like it's just like so heartfelt. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Just so amazing. So if I were watching this, I would be like, yep, sign me up. All right, how can I best prepare myself in a career in therapeutic recreation? So could you talk more about how students should be preparing themselves should they want to come to CMU or and continue on in a career?
Yeah, so the best way to become a recreational therapist is to get a 4-year undergraduate bachelor's degree. That degree, which we offer at Central Michigan University, will kind of prepare you to work in all those different settings. So there's a course on each of those settings. And you go through the curriculum over about 2.5 years. And at the end of your time sort of taking classes, then you move into your internships. And to become nationally certified through NCTRC, which is sort of the national organization, you have to finish your coursework and then have a 14-week internship. And so we actually offer students either 1 or 2 internships, depending on if they want to go to grad school and go on to something like occupational therapy. We work with students to see which one is the best path for them. So you have the opportunity to do at least 1 internship, if not 2 internships, and you got wonderful experience working at a place like the Detroit Medical Center on that sort of unit as an intern, or working at Spalding Rehab in Boston, Massachusetts. We just had an intern there. Have 2 interns going out to Colorado to work in a behavioral health unit. So once they finish that, then they sit for their national exam. And if they pass that, they end up getting the Certified Therapeutic Recreation Specialist credentials, and then they could be hired in all of those settings that I just mentioned in all 50 states.
Wow. Very cool. And along those same lines with internships, because I know that we always promote internships and getting a job later in life. I think that that's such a great gateway to get into a position later. Where are you seeing students getting internships?
Yeah, so we have students that get internships all over Michigan in all of those different areas. I'll give you a few examples. I have a student right now that is at St. Mary's in Grand Rapids. They have a really nice inpatient psych unit. And there's an alum of our program that's actually two alumni work there as recreational therapists, and they have a great internship program where the student is working with folks that are on the inpatient psych unit for 15 weeks, and they're running all of these different therapeutic groups, and they specialize in that internship and doing a lot of stress management activities with the clients. Also have consistently had students in physical medicine and rehab. So Michigan has a lot of physical medicine and rehab facilities, both inpatient as well as outpatient. So Mary Freebed would be an example. I have a really good inpatient unit and different programs in Grand Rapids and in other locations. So we've had students there. And then we have students that will also go all over the country. I had a student that was in Oregon. I've had a couple students, like I said, are going to Colorado this summer. Another student that's looking at an internship in Utah. So it just depends if you want to stay close to home. There are a lot of internship sites right here in Michigan, in Detroit, Grand Rapids, Lansing. We have internship sites, 15, 20 minutes down the road, or right here in Mount Pleasant as well. So you could stay here a mile away, or you could go all the way out to California if you would like. The one I did mention, I had a student 2 years ago, spent her entire summer at Spalding Rehab in Boston, and it's the second ranked inpatient rehab unit in the country, and they love having our interns. They end up doing a lot of things when the client goes sort of outpatient and gets discharged. They have a lot of the stuff I'm showing you here, they do with clients, including other things like wheelchair sports, wheelchair basketball, rugby. They do adaptive water skiing, things like that, getting people back into those active lifestyles.
So it really sounds like somebody who graduates with a therapeutic recreation degree can, no matter where they might want to live, it's really a position, or there are positions in the field that would be anywhere across Michigan, the United States. Like somebody could really kind of go anywhere with this type of degree.
Yeah, I think students enjoy that, especially if they want or become sort of adventurous. They sort of like, hey, I want to, try living in this state.
Yeah.
Different programs in different states. In general, long-term care is just increasing with the sort of aging population. So there's a lot of jobs in long-term care in both rural as well as urban areas. Of course, urban areas are going to have more jobs.
Sure.
And then also, inpatient psych units, pretty much all 50 states, there has to be an activity therapy department. And so it makes it pretty easy to get a job in psych as well in all 50 states.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And I think on the flip side of that, Jamie, what is really cool too is so many of our students are looking for a degree and a career too that can keep them in Michigan if they want to.
Right.
So yeah. So being able to, go wherever they want, but stay home if they want to too, and be close to family is so appealing for our students. And this degree affords them the flexibility to do either. So,
yeah.
I'm just so happy we had you on today, Shay. This was amazing. I'm glad you showed the equipment because that's really cool for our students to see. Study abroad. I mean, sign me up for that because that sounds
right.
Yeah. That is really cool. So I just want to open it up for any last thoughts from Shay and from Jamie as well.
Yeah, one other thing I guess we didn't touch on is we have a lot of students that actually really like this major as a springboard for grad school. So I would say about maybe 30 to 40% of our students are actually going to go to occupational therapy grad school. So for occupational therapy, you need to have a master's degree. And this is a fantastic major for that. We have a really high success rate of getting students into all the different universities. I think there's 17 universities in Michigan that have an occupational therapy graduate program. And we've been very successful. I have many students at different grad programs at Grand Valley State, Saginaw Valley, right now taking classes that were sitting in our seats here in Finch Fieldhouse last year. And I also have students that are applying to go to other allied health fields like a physician assistant, counseling, things like that. So if you're thinking about those helping professions, the really nice thing about this degree is you graduate as a nationally certified therapist and you can get a job. The median income salary is about 50 grand. So some students have delayed going to grad school a year or two, or they've worked part-time. It's a great thing to have as you sort of think about branching out to grad school. So if you're one of those students, we'd love to chat with you as well.
That's great.
Absolutely. I would say the only other thing I would add is if anyone who is watching or watches in the future is interested in coming to campus and touring and talking with faculty and talking with the advising unit, we are so happy to talk through what options there are for you, give you a tour of campus, maybe try to make it over to Finch Fieldhouse to see some of this equipment potentially. And so certainly reach out or comment in the chat or anything like that. And we would be happy to talk it through. This is such an amazing program. I'm so glad we were able to feature it this week.
Absolutely. I know I was saying that I'd like to go over there and see some of that equipment in person too, because I mean, seeing it on screen is cool, but it's be really neat to see it in person as well. So
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining me. I'm so happy to be able to feature this program. The weather is turning, so it's a great day to get out there and enjoy some fresh weather and get out there and go for a walk or go for a run or whatever you do to get some exercise in. So thank you all for joining us so much. We appreciate it. Next week, we'll be doing our regular Coffee with a Career Coach. And we appreciate you joining us for coffee today. So everyone have a wonderful weekend and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.